Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley, Billingsley Brand Lures. So you want to catch a bunch of otters. Well, let's just jump right in at this. This just happens to be one of my favorite animals to get after. The otter population here in the Midwest has just exploded over the last few years. So with the restrictions that they put on us, it's absolutely ridiculous. We should have had our otter season here in Iowa 10 years before we ever got it. So I've had the distinct privilege of catching a bunch of otter. And I've had the privilege of being able to catch otter in 5 different states as well. So let's just jump right in at this. Okay, here we are on a farm pond. And a lot of these farm ponds, I'm not very far up off of the Des Moines River. I'm only maybe at the most a 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles. A lot of these farm ponds have otter in them, and I get a lot of calls every year to come get the otter out of their farm ponds. Here's a couple of sets that I like to use in these type of situations. The first one, I'll show you, see if I can get it here in the camera without dirtying the water up too much, is a double pocket set. Now you'll notice those pockets aren't very big, they aren't very deep. There's no reason for them to be. All you're doing is trying to get that otter's attention. That's all you're doing. And then I set a little bit different than what a lot of guys do. I like to put my trap between the pockets, not in front of one or the other one, but right between them. I hope you'll be able to pick that up. The reason being that I put it between the two pockets is to avoid some of the raccoon. Now you're still going to catch a few, but this way you avoid the majority of them. I'll run a nice big piece of fish up in one of them. I'll run a good lure right there in the other one. Trap between them. Otters are very repetitious. So as he's working one pocket, he'll bounce back and forth between the two. And as he's bouncing back and forth, that big number 3 Northwoods laying there is just waiting on him. Very simple, very effective set. Well, sure enough, take you a bunch of otter. Keep prayer. Here's another set that I like to use in a still water situation. Now, if you're on a creek or on a river, you can put these up on sandbars. And you'll, believe it or not, otter will shove their head in a bucket with a 220 in front of it a lot. But here on these farm ponds, especially early in the season, I like to set them out in the water like this. It's more of a curiosity kind of thing. Now, I'll run a good lure right up on the lip of that bucket. Doesn't hurt a thing. Then, if you want to, you can always hang a piece of fish. Maybe move that bucket up just where it's a little bit shallower and wire a piece of fish up in the back of it too. Not saying you won't catch raccoon in that set out in the water, but it's not near as probability as what it is up here on dry bank. I've got it set so that the otter has to pass between the bank and the bucket. I'm telling you guys, if you put these in like this, you're going to catch otters. Otter are very, very, very curious animal. They won't pass by much. Let's go down here on the dam, and we'll look see if we can find a crossover. It might be a little hard this time of the year with all the grass, but this pond did have otters in it. I removed them out of here a year ago, but I'll bet there's been an otter in this again. So let's go see if we can find it and take a look. Okay, guys, here we are, just about in the center of the pond here at the overflow. And generally speaking, that's where the crossover is going to be. Now, not sure how well it'll show up. But right there, right about in the center of the screen, is a piece of fish. Looks like the gill plate off of a bluegill or something. I know that's just subtle sign. I understand that it's not jumping right out at you, but that's still sign. That big old bunch of trees way off there in the distance, that's the mighty Des Moines River. We're not that far from it. Otter, you have to remember that otter are a land animal that frequent the water. They are not a true water animal. It's not any big stretch for an otter to jump out of that Des Moines River, make his way across dry ground, come up here to this farm pond. So, now this side, later on in the fall, this crossover, if they're still in here, would really shine up and really show up. With all this riprap along here, setting in the water is kind of out. But what I would do if I had the distinct trail is I would put a number 11 right there. I would come up here and I would put a number 11 here on top of the levee. Then I would go off on the back side and I would drop another number 11 in that trail on the back side of it. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, Dale, why would you use a number 11? Because number 11s are the absolute best otter trap ever invented, bar none, in my opinion. In 2003, I worked for the Missouri Department of Conservation on their otter research project. We took the otters we caught them alive in number 11s. We took them out of the traps alive in number 11s. We took them to the vet and they put a radio transmitter up inside the body cavity. Then we did telemetry studies on them. And we learned by tracking them that otter cover a tremendous amount of area. And we also learned that number 11 is very otter friendly, but it will darn sure hold otter. I had one young male otter that I caught in that project that in 3 weeks' time after I had originally caught him, that otter had moved 100 miles from where I had originally caught him. So that ought to tell you something right there. I can pick the place. They have to pick the time. That's just the way you treat otter. You can't force them. You can't make them be there if they're not. So the hard part about otter trapping is just basically keeping the sets working long enough to catch the otter when he comes back through. Now, another reason that I would put 3 to 4 traps in that crossover, the other thing I learned on that project is that otter get very, very circle shy. If I made a non-target catch, because I didn't drown anything, and I still don't drown them, I still hold them all alive. But if I made a non-target catch, say a raccoon or a beaver, something that made a catch circle, those otter would avoid that circle. They would go around the outside edge of it, just like a coyote will at a dirt hole or a flat set or something of that sort. They would go right around the outside edge of it, get back on the trail as soon as possible, and then go on. Okay, well, if you've only got one trap set down here at the edge of the water, and you already caught a beaver or a raccoon or something of that sort in that trap, and you've got a torn up catch circle there, and that otter comes through and goes around the outside edge of it, you just missed him. And it might be 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you don't know, before that otter comes back through. And if you didn't change anything, if you didn't do anything any different, you're going to miss him again. So drop in 2 or 3 on that crossover to avoid that. That way you don't miss those otter when they come through. All right, trappers. Here's another good scenario that we've got for otter. Here's a fish jetty coming out into this pond. Otters love these things. They love messing around on these jetties. Now, they absolutely will not always swim around the point. A lot of times, otter are lazy, and as they're hunting along the edge of the bank, instead of exerting the energy to swim around this thing, they're just going to get out and cut across and then go on their merry way. So, when you're coming up to these jetties like this, or these points, doesn't matter what it is, point, jetty, anything obstruction out into the water, always want to look for your crossovers coming across the top of these things. That's just another little tip, another little piece of advice for you. Also, guys, if you'll go back and watch my deadliest raccoon set video, you'll see the use of the fish steak. I'm telling you guys, that thing is deadly on otter. So if you go back and watch that video, that'll give you another good set to use. And I know this is kind of short and it's kind of basic. Once the season gets here and we get to rolling, we'll go through some more of this stuff for you, some more things that I do on all these fur bearers. Right now, it's just stinking hot. Nobody's really thinking about trapping. These are just kind of simple, basic videos to get you started, get you thinking about things on down the road. So, in conclusion, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching this video. If you would, please hit that subscribe button, share this video if you would, leave me a comment, hit that thumbs up. It really does help my channel, and I do appreciate it a bunch. Until the next one, this is Dale Billingsley signing out.